joining us this evening on African Free Press Television. I am Momo Bassi, bringing you happenings around Africa. Senegal's Supreme Court has upheld the graft verdict and 6-year jail term against Karim Wade, son of Senegal's former president Abdoulaye Wade. A former super minister with several portfolios in his father's government, Karim was convicted in March for amassing an ill-gotten fortune in a deeply aggressive case that had led to opposition protests in Dakar. The Supreme Court rejected an appeal by Wade to overturn the sentence, in which he was also fined more than 210 million euros. Burundi's security forces have tortured suspected opponents of President Pierre Nkurunziza's third-term bid. Amnesty International reveals how people arrested for allegedly taking part in protests have been abused to extract information. Burundi has experienced months of chaos following April's announcements that the president will run for a third term, which has resulted in the deaths of many in clashes between police and demonstrators. Oscar Pistorius, accused of murdering his friend Reeva Steenkamp, has been due for early release from prison but has been blocked by South African minister last week. Paralytic star was jailed for 5 years in 2014 for guilty homicide, a charge equal to manslaughter. The Olympic athlete confessed to shooting dead Steenkamp but maintains he mistook her for a burglar. Justice Minister Michael Masuta last week said that the decision to free the athlete after serving 10 months of his 5-year sentence has been taken prematurely. He has now suspended the decision and sent it back to the parole board for review, a process which can take months. Prosecutors have lodged for an appeal calling for the athlete's conviction to be converted to murder, which carries a minimum of 15 years. According to Cameroon's Professional Football League, 26-year-old striker for Cameroon's second division team, Dynamo de Douala, who collapsed during the match, has died. Leopold Oben was fouled in a penalty area during a match at Reunification Stadium in capital Douala on Saturday, received treatment on the field and resumed play but collapsed minutes later. Oben was taken to a Douala hospital where he passed away minutes later. His cause of death has not yet been disclosed. About 4,400 migrants were rescued from boats off the coast of Libya on Saturday in one of the biggest single-day operations. The route from Libya to Italy is one of the busiest for those trying to enter Europe. More than 2,000 people have died this year in attempts to reach Europe in overcrowded, unseaworthy boats. Of the 264,500 migrants United Nations says have crossed the Mediterranean so far this year, close to 104,000 have landed in Italy, another 160,000 arrived in Greece. Humanitarian groups say the surge in number is because of conflict and repression in Africa and the Middle East. The European government should do more to create safe routes to Europe. According to military sources, suspected Boko Haram militants ambushed a convoy carrying the new head of Nigerian army. The ambush, which took place on Saturday in northeastern Borno State, led to the clash in which one soldier and at least 5 militants were killed. Army Chief General Tukur Buratai took up his post in July after the president sacked the head of military for failing to end Boko Haram's insurgency. Boko Haram began fighting for an Islamic state in the north in 2009. General Buratai was visiting troops in Borno State when his convoy was ambushed about 45 kilometers east of the state's capital, Maiduguri. Boko Haram has lost territories in recent months to a multinational force that includes troops from Nigeria's neighbors. But the militant group has stepped up its campaign since President Muhammadu Buhari took office in May. South Africa's currency has fallen to an all-time low against US dollars. It briefly hit a rate of 14 rands to the US dollars as concerns about the strength of the Chinese economy continues to spread fears among investors. Economies that rely on the sale of commodities, such as South Africans, have been hit by the slowdown in growth in China, a major source of demand. The problem was compounded when China unexpectedly devalued its currency earlier this month. Several other African currencies have been under pressure in recent weeks over fears of a Chinese economic slowdown. With oil currently hovering around $40 a barrel, there are concerns about the prospects for oil-based economies, especially Nigeria and Angola. The relative strengths of the US dollars have also had an effect, among others, the Zambian kwacha and the Ugandan shillings, which have both hit record lows in the past week. Those were the headlines around Africa. For more news updates, you can visit us at www.africanfreepress.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at African Free Press. Like African Free Press on Facebook. I am Momo Bassi. Have a good evening.